So for those of you who don't know, I was a musician for a big part of my adult life. And I always had also the passion of helping others. And I started playing music later in life. And I actually always thought that this is what I do now, or a variation of that would be what I would do. And I went on to study psychology in the beginning, psychology and philosophy in the university. But I really didn't like the university and the academy and how this was being delivered. So I left. And that is when I started playing music. But this desire within me to help others always kept on burning. And I think that the seeds for that desire were planted in me in a very early age. So I was the third child to my parents, and before me, my oldest brother, he's 9 years older than me, was a healthy, beautiful baby, and is still a healthy, beautiful man. But my second brother was born with cerebral palsy, and he was 6 years older than me. And his condition was so severe that there was seemingly no communication with him. My parents tried everything they could, but there was just no communication that they could really understand. And, back in the day, this is like the 70s, right? There was much less awareness to all of this information that we are sharing here. And the doctors really told them that there's nothing they can do, and there's no awareness in this body that is hardly functioning. And still for 6 years, they really tried whatever they could to try and create a connection and bring some progress in his development. And then 6 years after he was born, I was born. And I was the absolute gift for my parents. I was the gift of another healthy baby, right? After these hard 6 years. And they almost lost me in my birth. But I was born healthy. And when I was 6 years old, they decided to move my husband, my brother, to a home for children in such condition. And that's what they did. And then for the next 6 years, until I was 6 years old, we would visit him every 2 weeks. And I remember these visits very, very clearly. And I remember, as a little child, a baby, a toddler, I did not understand what was really different between him and my other brother or myself. I felt a connection to him. He was my brother, and I could feel him. I could feel his heart. I could connect to his soul. And I did not really understand why, every time we would go back home and he would stay there. But I did not even know how to ask the question. And my parents were not aware that I was having this question, and I was, feeling the way I felt about this. Again, there was much less awareness back in the days, right? And so that's how I grew up. And when I was 6 years old, he died. And years later, I actually discovered that he was buried on my 6th birthday. So when I was about 22 years old, going through my own, self-inquiry and self-discovery, I went through a photo album of him, and I saw the death announcement, the funeral announcement, and my birth date was on that announcement from the newspaper. It was like taken from the newspaper, and they kept it in the photo album. And for me, that was a very meaningful moment that I, now it's 20 years after, and I remember it very clearly because I felt some sort of epiphany and direction or guidance that I was receiving, discovering this synchronicity. And yeah, I truly believe that these early experiences in my life, in the first 6 years of my life, really planted in me the desire to reach out to others, to help others be heard and understood. Later in my life, around this time when I was 22 years old, I met the person who was then my partner for the next 5 years. And he has had and still has a son with cerebral palsy. And I became half his best friend, half his, I can't say stepmother. I was only 22 years old, but I was the partner of his father, who was quite older than me. And that is just one part of my story. During those years, I started playing music after deciding not to study psychology and, you know, what I was just sharing. And I really dove into my musical journey. And I decided I wanted to be a professional musician. I went on to study that in university, and I did become a professional musician. And I had a beautiful career writing music, performing, teaching, always a teacher. I really, really love teaching music, just like I love teaching what I teach today. And again, I think those seeds were planted in me in those very early years. And fast forward to my 30s, early 30s, I was already a professional musician, and I was coming out of another painful breakup, living the cycle of choosing the wrong partners for myself. And I discovered that I had precancer lesions in my cervix. And this led me into a very deep self-inquiry once again. I really believed then, and still do, that whatever we experience in our life, so that's what we're talking about the whole time in this workshop, and that applies also to our physical health and our physical body. Whatever we experience is a reflection of something deeper, something more spiritual and mental and emotional. And so discovering this health condition was a clear sign to me that there is something that I haven't resolved, and that will keep showing up in my life if I don't go through this healing process. And so I did. And I found a really beautiful mentor to help me through that. And I worked with dreams, with meditation. And I discovered a lot about myself. This whole journey led me to not only heal my body, but also really shift and break through the cycle I had in my choices of partners. And very shortly after, the man who is now my husband for the past 10 years or more, and the father of my son, he showed up in my life. And not only he showed up in my life, I was also able to receive him, even though he was very different from the type of man I would usually choose. And I wouldn't have been doing that, I can tell you for sure, without the guidance I received from my mentor. So yeah, that's another kind of big part of my journey, I would say. And then fast forward a few years later is when I decided that it's time for me to unwrap my gift of serving others in a different way than I was able to do as a musician and as a music teacher. And even though throughout the years I've gathered all sorts of modalities and tools and certifications to help others, that is when I really decided to create a big shift and became a full-time coach. And for me to be able to do that also financially, I had to learn how to do that in an effective way, in a profitable way. And I started learning how to build an online business. And so I can reach a greater audience and impact more people and create financial freedom for myself and my family. And then also fast forwarding again into now being able to also help others do the same. So when I started as a coach, I was helping people with emotional struggles, mostly with anxiety, with depression, with low self-esteem and low self-worth, issues in relationships and career, but with a lot of focus on the emotional aspect. And today, of course, I still do that because it's all eventually, as we've talked here in the last few days, it's all about consciousness. It's all about how we see ourselves and believe, what we hold is true about ourselves and about life. So even when we talk about building an online business, it comes down to mindset, it comes down to self-concept, self-image, it comes down to shifting, to creating those subconscious shifts and create the person that you want to become from the inside out. And so that is how I evolved into what I'm doing today. At some point, I became a Procter Gallagher consultant and have had the privilege of studying with Bob. And I am so very grateful to have the privilege of continuing on his legacy as part of my service in the world. And so, as I've already shared, that is what we do now in my company, in the Master Your Path program. We help people create those subconscious mental shifts with these amazing tools that Bob created. And this beautiful formula that Alina also talked about yesterday and Scarlett shared today. And then we do that hand in hand with helping people build a successful online business that aligns with who they truly are and how they truly want to serve. And that is what I do today. So that was a little bit about me. And I want to end with going back to this book that I was reading from yesterday. Yesterday, we talked about getting uncomfortable. And I want to end with another beautiful short chapter from this book, You Squared, which is Open Your Gift. So I just shared with you how I opened and unwrapped different gifts that I have received in this life. And I'm fully committed to ever continuing doing so and helping others do the same. And so here is about opening your gifts. You have many gifts that you've never opened. These are gifts of talent, ability, and reach that are yours for the taking. The people we call gifted are different from the crowd in one very special way. They accepted their gifts. They let it happen. The high achievers, the persons you admire, are those individuals who open their gifts. These winners have more gifts because they claimed them, took them out of the wrapping, and used them. Now it's time for you to do something with your gifts. Claim them, and you create them. Reach for them, and they materialize. Use them, and they grow to serve you still better. If you look at those particular skills you have developed over the years, the talents that you have exhibited, you will find they are the gifts you opened and enjoyed. But how many others are there within your reach? For even if you've opened over the years, for every gift you've opened over the years, there are hundreds that you've never unwrapped and taken out of the package. This unused potential hides there, just waiting to play a role in your quantum leap. When you make a quantum leap, you find out many new things about yourself. You Squared is a fascinating experience in self-discovery. A transformation occurs, a metamorphosis. Think of a striped caterpillar humbly crawling along the stem of milkweed plant a few inches from Mother Earth, changing into strikingly beautiful monarch butterfly that soars high in the air and bravely journeys thousands of miles in its yearly pilgrimage. To become a monarch, to free those shining auburn wings, to fly high and free, the creature must break out of the cocoon of safety and open its gifts. Open some more of yours. Find your wings.